communication that was had. And it started with the help. I saw Cheryl here. Is she here? Cheryl Graves. You know, we came together and we had a smaller sort of police youth peace circles at Hirsch High School, and it went so well that about a year and a half after that or so, and after having a young man in my courtroom kind of remind me of how intense that conflict is between youth and police, helped with Cheryl and her organization and the Juvenile Court Probation Department created a summit where we had over 100 people there, youth and police together in peace circles, and it just keeps coming back. The youth and police is a theme that I just can't get rid of. It just, and I keep getting dragged back into it, happily so. In terms of this sort of idea and contest, you know, that track that Ryan played, I thought was beautiful, and I can speak sort of at firsthand with regard to that. I'm married to a Chicago police sergeant, and and she was promoted to sergeant maybe 2 years ago and was assigned to an impact zone. And I saw how she began her service in the first day, and I saw where she was, you know, in the middle and toward the end, and I could really see this the struggle that she had with regard to how she looked at humanity, and it was really sad because that's not who she is in her heart, but it was the day in, day out in the impact zone, constantly seeing you know, the pain, constantly seeing, you know, abandoned animals and all sorts of things. And I would listen to the kids in the courtroom and the way they referred to their neighborhoods. And it was, I live in a bad neighborhood, I live in the ghetto. It was just negative, 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 negative. And, you know, I mean, I got off the bench one day and I said, God, I would really just like to do something that was like, what's good? Sometimes, you know, a probation officer will stand up there and they will just tell me report after report after report about what's wrong with this kid. And sometimes it's just so overwhelming, I have to say, is there anything that's good here? Let's find one good thing. And part of the idea for the photo contest was, you know, I didn't consequently get to have a lot of time with Brownie, my wife, and she was working at night, and so really a lot of the ways that we would communicate with each other was she'd send me a picture, and one of the pictures that she sent me was she called me and she's like, she called me Judgy, and she was like, Judgy, go outside. She's like, go outside. And she was like, the sunset's beautiful, you gotta go out there and check out the sunset. So I went out and I was like, oh, this is really a pretty sunset. So she sent me a picture of this gorgeous sunset. And I said, wow, that's really good. She goes, yeah, I took this picture. She goes, it was so beautiful. And I guess the impact, there was about 20 officers, PPOs, the probationary police officers that she was supervising. I'm seeing a captain here. I don't know if she was supposed to do this or not. She made them all go down and take a look at the sunset. She was like, we're going to take a 5-minute beauty break. And she made them all go take a look. And I just thought, God, if you could just, you know, have that moment of 1 minute to go look at something, would that change your heart for a second? And would you approach it differently? When we did the Police Youth Summit back in a few years back, we did have a street yoga person there. And we did, and we had these officers, and as I tell the story, Osama bin Laden had just been shot, and so there was a directive in the Chicago Police Department that all officers had to have their sidearm and their vests. And so this was the day, and so everybody came in with their bulletproof vests and their sidearms, and we had the street yoga guy, and you know, we had, you know, police officers out there doing the warrior pose and you know, in Shavasana. And one of the officers came up and said, I wish we could do this after roll call. I wish we could just do this for 5 minutes. And that might just change your perspective just a little bit. So the idea that I had was, and I was at a meeting with Ryan, and I said, I called it, I don't know what I was referring into it then, just some idea that I had about a contest. If you had police officers who were driving around in their tour of duty take just one second to see something beautiful and take a picture of that. And if you challenged minors in the same area to do the same thing where you took a picture of that they might be driving around instead of always looking at the negative, especially if there was a contest and there was a check available at the end of it, that they might say, oh, I gotta look for something beautiful, I gotta look for something inspiring today. And then that might change something. And then the idea was to come have a gallery, a contest, a party, and have some conversation. I said that to Ryan at some meeting, I think it was last January, we had that meeting, and he's like, we want to do that. He was like, we want to do that. And I said, yeah, that'd be great. And off we ran with it. So it was really, it's really, really remarkable to see sort of the tangible fruits of the labor of this. And I said this too, we deal with very heady things all the time, very essential things and concepts. And I said, I just want to have something. I want to have like a tomato when I'm done. I want to hold something and say, we did this, and we grew this tomato, or we have this picture. And this is so wonderful to have this because people really respond to this. I've given this to Supreme Court Ann Burke, Chief Judge Timothy Evans, Presiding Judge Tuman, so I'm President of the Illinois Judges Association, so I'm spreading the word here. Thank you.
So I don't know if you pick up on this, but you will see if you look at the materials, you look at the wall, and you look at the table runners, you'll see the Y logo in a lot of places. And another thing I want you guys to walk away with today, the reason we have that is because the Y has really upped their investment in violence prevention in recent years and doubled down on a long-standing commitment to making the neighborhoods we serve safer. And that's something we're proud of, and two people that I think deserve a lot of credit for that was our CEO, Dick Malone. Would you stand for a second? Dick's the one who made it possible for this to become our headquarters for violence prevention, and who brought Meg and Eddie and myself in and has supported us since we came on board. So we don't take it for granted. And Joanna Williamson is our Vice President of Human Services. You gonna stand? And if you don't already know about peacemaking circles, you'll hear about them in a second. But it's becoming trained as a circle keeper is a 4-day process. When you're a Vice President of Human Services, it's a pretty serious commitment. But Joanna did, and she actually got trained in that room with about 20 CPD personnel. And that shows her commitment to the issue. So all this to say that the Y is in, and we're invested in this, and we see that bridging this divide is key to the long-term safety outcomes that we all are working towards. Okay, so Judge Sheehan has been doing this work for a long time, been having brilliant ideas for a long time. We're honored to partner with her. Meanwhile, Mark Payne and Vanessa Westley they're really in charge of the revitalization of CAPS around the city. And one of the things that I've learned from them is they're really trying to push CAPS away from an events-based model, away from just having a barbecue and then saying we're done with community building, and more towards building the capacity and the structure and the infrastructure required to maintain community relationships over time. So Mark's going to close us out at the end, but I wanted to bring up Vanessa and talk about that.
Well, I'm very humbled to even stand before you. I don't do this often, so I'm going to keep it real short. In the essence of my boss, make it quick and dirty, get out of the way. This project has meant a lot to us corporately and personally. We're seeing transformation in the way that officers look at what they do. One of the things in CAPS revitalization, one of the tenets is that we reconnect folks with the passion, why they do what they do. For all of you all who have not had an experience or contact with your community policing officer in your district, I suggest you do so. There are a lot of passionate people who love the work, who love community, and sometimes because of circumstances you don't get to meet them. Michelle being one of them. And they're joined with revitalization. As you know, we had to decentralize CAPS. It's not what CAPS used to be. So we had the opportunity to merge teams. And part of that is our civilian staff and our sworn staff now work together. And I'm going to point back that way to the 10th District again. We have John Reynolds and Michelle that now work together. And they did So bridging the divide meant so much to us. The ripple effect, I don't think I have enough time to really share. I met some phenomenal people and I partnered with some phenomenal people, but I'm just going to speak on the contest in the context of the 10th District, since that's where we are. And thank you, Captain Chambers, for being here. We had some of the most awesome conversations with young people that would have never happened had it not been for this contest. I thank Lucretia and I thank Liz for the hard work that they did. They went and they rallied young people and they brought them to one space. And I'll tell this story and I'll get out the way. We were at the firehouse and we were having cafe. I don't know if Lena's in the room, but thank you, Lena, for cafe. And from that, we had a conversation with a young person, a police officer, and an advocate. So we're at this table, and the first thing that we heard that night is like, we don't like the police. We heard the police, well, we ain't crazy about these kids. But they were in the room doing icebreakers together, right? Eating together. And then this conversation happened. I happened to be a table host. We had a young person and an officer, oh, I know you, yeah, I know you. Oh, you were on the corner of so-and-so doing what you wasn't supposed to do. Yeah, I was. Yeah, I remember you. You made me do 50 push-ups. And the advocate, who didn't know this relationship, said, oh, that's not professional. You shouldn't have did that. I disagree. And the young person said, wait a minute, I'm glad he made me do the push-ups, because had I stood there, I could have been hit. Had I stood there, something else would have happened. So in that less than 5-minute conversation, because we were bridging this divide, another brick was laid in that bridge. So now the advocate gets it. It's about relationship. Sometimes, we do have to follow the rules. We have to. But it's about the relationship that comes. So I'm excited. I'm going to get out the way. And I thank all of you all, and thank you, Ryan, for the experience.
Okay, so it's cliche, but the journey of 1,000 miles does begin with a single step, and I would say that we're on a good step 9 or 10 right now. Which means we have, just a little over 999 more miles to go before this divide is bridged. But it's been a journey of lessons, and we've learned a lot of things along the way. We've learned that you have to really create values, and you have to really create guidelines for these conversations, because a lot of times there's real negative experiences that have happened before a young person sits down with an officer, and sometimes vice versa. And I want to bring up the person, one of the two people, they're both here, who taught me pretty much everything I know about values and guidelines, which is Cheryl Graves from the Community Justice for Youth Institute. And they're just a quick update, like a quick fact on CJYI, their organization. Sometime over the last year, they trained their 1,000th circle keeper in the city of Chicago. And a lot of people, if you know the term restorative justice in Chicago, it's possible it's because of this network that has been quietly built for the last 7-8 years. And this network is now kind of spreading the practice and spreading the word. So without further ado, Cheryl.
I'm going to talk in the back, okay?
Please.
All right. First of all, can everybody who's ever been trained in peace circles please stand up, raise your hands. Wave them around in the air. Woo! Right. Pamela Purdy and Pamela, you want to stand up? Please. We had a wonderful opportunity. Although at first I think, I have to admit, we were a little bit jaded, like, really? We're going to train police and CAPS officers in peace circles, really? But it was Ryan, we knew Vanessa, and we decided, you know what? One of the values is being non-judgmental.